so excited that Africa is so modern.
Africa actually has, modern technology and roads and running water.
We have wealthy people in Africa. It's very beautiful. The culture is good.
The world was already laughing before he even landed. Comments flooded the screen, harsh and confident, written by people who had never been there but were absolutely sure they knew the truth. They said he would get robbed the moment he stepped off the plane. They said there was no internet, no safety, no future. They said Africa was a place frozen in time, a continent of danger and despair. And then on a random live stream watched by millions, an American YouTuber turned on his camera, stepped into Africa, and everything they thought they knew began to collapse in real time.
Actually surprised that Africa has luxury. They have apartments, they have houses, they have skyscrapers and buildings and shit. Bro, no way! Africans actually have drinking water?
This was not a polished documentary backed by a network or filtered through years of editing. This was raw, uncut, unpredictable. One man, one camera, millions of viewers, and a continent that refused to match the stereotypes placed upon it. Every laugh, every handshake, every crowded street and high-speed connection challenged a story that had been repeated for generations. This was not just a travel vlog, it became a global moment of reckoning. His name is Darren Jason Watkins Jr., known to the world as iShowSpeed. Loud, chaotic, unpredictable, and deeply human. For 28 days across 20 countries, he didn't just tour Africa, he collided with it. And in that collision, something powerful happened. The internet watched its own ignorance unravel, because this journey was never really about speed. It was about perception, about who gets to tell the story of a place and who has been silenced for far too long. And as millions watched a young American streamer run through African streets surrounded by laughter instead of fear, one truth became impossible to ignore.
Speed's showing me the real side of Africa right now. Like it ain't all like Somali or here Congo, and man, you got some places out there that are it just scream home to your soul.
Africa was never what they were told it was. Before this journey, Speed was already a global phenomenon. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio, he started uploading videos nearly a decade ago, first as a teenager screaming over video games, reacting wildly, turning chaos into entertainment. What began as gaming content slowly evolved into something bigger. His personality, his authenticity, his refusal to be polished made people feel like they were watching a friend, not a performer. Over time, his audience exploded, stretching far beyond the United States. As his fame grew, so did his curiosity. Travel became content, and content became connection. But Africa was different. Africa carried weight. For years, it had been reduced to headlines of poverty, conflict, and suffering. Even before Speed announced the tour, the comments revealed how deep those narratives ran. People didn't worry about whether the streams would be entertaining. They worried about whether he would survive. The tour kicked off on December 29, 2025. From the very first stop, reality punched through expectation. Airports were modern and busy. Internet speeds were fast enough to support uninterrupted live streams watched by millions. Streets were alive with energy. Music, traffic, laughter, color.
I had such a good time out there. The music, the culture, the food, the dance. They're so welcoming. South Africa, Johannesburg, but don't take my word for it. Look at how they welcomed Speed.
And everywhere he went, crowds followed, not with hostility, but with excitement and pride. Speed didn't move through Africa like a distant celebrity. He moved like a participant. He danced when people danced. He ate what people ate. He laughed when they laughed. In Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, Angola, Kenya, South Africa, Morocco, and beyond, he wasn't treated as an outsider. He was welcomed as family. That warmth became the emotional backbone of the tour. Livestream after livestream, viewers began to realize something uncomfortable. The image they had carried of Africa was wrong, not exaggerated, not outdated. Wrong. They saw skyscrapers, highways, malls, packed stadiums, vibrant nightlife. They heard accents, jokes, languages, and stories that had never been part of the mainstream narrative.
how beautiful the continent is. We know it's vast with 50 plus countries where you have beautiful people, beautiful culture that is very welcoming and inviting towards us, especially us as African Americans.
Africa was not silent. It was loud, diverse, and confidently modern. One moment, Speed is racing a cheetah in South Africa, laughing and shouting as millions watch a scene that feels surreal. Another day, he's surrounded by 100 children in Angola, playing football in pure joy. No script, no agenda, just connection. In Kenya, he meets the Maasai, learning traditions not as museum artifacts, but as living culture. In Morocco, he attends the AFCON final, witnessing the raw passion of African football on one of the continent's biggest stages. Each moment chipped away at a lie. The power of this tour wasn't just in what Speed showed, but in how he showed it. There was no narration telling viewers what to think, no dramatic music instructing them how to feel. Just reality, unfolding live. When something surprised Speed, it surprised the audience too. When he felt joy, confusion, fear, or excitement, it was shared instantly. That authenticity made the impact impossible to ignore. Comment sections transformed before everyone's eyes. Where there had been mockery and fear, there was now curiosity and respect. People admitted they were wrong. They asked questions. They said things like, "I didn't know Africa was like this," and "Why was this never shown to us?" That question sits at the heart of this story.
Africa is a beautiful country. They have cars, they have water, they have houses, skyscrapers. And I'm like, there's no way you want to tell me that the propaganda, the whatever all these years is a lie.
For decades, Africa has been framed through a single lens. News footage of suffering, charity ads built on despair, stories told about Africa, rarely by Africans. Speed didn't set out to correct that narrative. He simply lived inside it long enough for the truth to become visible. By the time the tour reached its later stages, the impact was undeniable. Rolling Stone named iShowSpeed the most influential creator of 2025. Forbes estimated his net worth at around $20 million. But those numbers suddenly felt irrelevant. This wasn't about money or fame. It was about influence used in a way few had seen before. African creators, journalists, and everyday people spoke about what this meant. They talked about how millions outside the continent were seeing Africa clearly for the first time, not through filters, but through shared humanity. They spoke about pride, about being seen, about finally watching the global narrative begin to crack. Speed's presence didn't erase Africa's challenges. He never pretended everything was perfect, but he showed something equally important: complexity, progress, joy, culture, and the simple truth that Africa cannot be reduced to a single story. What made this tour even more powerful was how it inspired others.
I'm very happy that there are a lot of people that are having realizations and changed minds about Africa and how beautiful it is. And there have been plenty and countless content creators that have gotten on this camera and said how beautiful Africa is.
Creators who had never considered Africa began planning trips. Viewers expressed interest in visiting, investing, learning. Conversations shifted from fear to fascination, from dismissal to respect. In real time, a digital generation watched its worldview expand. Speed himself seemed transformed by the journey. The chaos was still there, the jokes, the shouting, the unpredictable energy. But there was something deeper too. A sense of gratitude, of humility, of understanding that the world is much bigger than what you're taught. At several moments during the tour, Speed said something simple but revealing. He said he felt at home. Not like a tourist, not like a foreigner, like someone who belonged. That feeling echoed across his streams, and viewers felt it too. This wasn't Africa asking to be accepted. This was Africa reminding the world of what it really is. A continent of over 1 billion people, thousands of cultures, languages, cities, dreams. A place of history and future, tradition and innovation. A place that has always been alive, whether the world paid attention or not. When the tour finally ended, it didn't feel like a conclusion. It felt like a beginning. The stream stopped, but the conversation didn't. Clips continue to circulate, reactions continue to pour in, and somewhere, a young viewer who once believed Africa was nothing but danger and poverty began to question everything they thought they knew.
I didn't know Africa was such a beautiful country. They got cars, they got water, they got Wi-Fi. Like we was lied to. We was really lied to.
That is the real legacy of this journey. Not the views, not the headlines, not the fame, but the moment millions realize that Africa doesn't need saving, it needs listening. And sometimes all it takes to change the world's mind is one camera, one open heart, and the courage to press Go Live. And now the question becomes unavoidable. If one unfiltered journey could change millions of minds, what happens next? What happens when people stop repeating old stories and start seeking real experiences? Speed's Africa tour didn't just end misconceptions, it exposed how powerful curiosity can be when it replaces fear. It showed that the distance between cultures is often created by ignorance, not geography. This story is bigger than iShowSpeed. It's about a generation that no longer waits for traditional media to tell them what the world looks like. A generation that watches, questions, and decides for itself. Africa didn't change during those 28 days. The cameras did, the attention did, the honesty did. And once the truth was visible, it couldn't be unseen. If this journey moved you, challenged you, or made you rethink what you believed, then don't let it stop here. Share this story. Talk about it. Question the narratives you've been given about places you've never been. Support creators who show the world as it really is, not how it's been framed. If you enjoyed this video and want more real stories that go beyond headlines and stereotypes, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Your support helps bring more powerful, truth-driven stories like this to life. Because the world is bigger, richer, and more connected than we're told. And sometimes all it takes is pressing play to finally see it.